And what you're seeing is what they really want is for everyone to be reliant on the market. So they do everything they can to destroy Social Security. The new and novel ones are this poverty line, which you'll see in the news, and it won't mention anything about Social Security. It'll say something like Donald Trump reconfiguring how poverty is calculated. But that's a sneak attack on Social Security. Ivanka Trump and Marco Rubio came up with this idea, this family leave idea, right? Like paid family leave. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't paid family leave. It actually took your own Social Security and you paid for your family leave. Have you seen that one?
No.
That's actually the most interesting of the new attacks. So they've done it on a couple issues, but the idea there is to get people to think of their Social Security not as wage insurance, but as money that they could be conned into using to pay for other things that they want. So that you're like, no, how about we just have paid family leave and we pay for it by taxing bankers and we don't actually take it out of our own retirement. So they've done it on student loans, they've done it on family leave. Those are the novel attacks that we're seeing. Then the normal old straight-on coming for our benefits attack, that's the deficit one you're talking about, and then the administrative budget attacks. Those are the three areas that at Social Security Works we're always playing defense by going massively on offense.
Yeah, and it seems that the only way to defeat this is for people to basically rise up and say, this is actually important to me.
Yeah.
And you know, I think when we come back from the break, I want to get into why somebody in their 20s or 30s or 40s should be really, really concerned about Social Security.
Yes.
We'll be right back. Alex Lawson is in the studio with us. We're talking Social Security, and we'll get into Medicare, too, in just a moment here. And if you have any questions, thoughts, suggestions, outrages, experiences you want to share, give us a shout. 202-808-9925. Welcome back. I'm live in Washington, D.C. at the studios of our affiliate here in D.C., We Act Radio, and the owner of the station, Alex Lawson, is also the executive director of Social Security Works, socialsecurityworks.org, and, you know, one of the leading experts on this issue in the United States. And, Alex, you were telling me, we were talking during the break about how one of the ways that this was Ivanka Trump and Marco Rubio, they want to attack Social Security by saying, well, let's have paid family leave, and we'll just take it out of your Social Security funds. And, of course, you know, you don't have Social Security funds. It's one giant pool. So we'll just take it out of Social Security, which is going to kill the organization, or the program, I guess would be the word. And that there's all these other attacks on it. One of the, which is just mind-boggling, how it just never stops. One of the things, though, that I think is really important for people to get is that if you're 25, 30, 35, 40, you know, a lot of young people say, Social Security, you know, oh, it's a pain in the butt because they take this money out of my paycheck every month or every week or every paycheck. And, you know, I'm not going to qualify for it until I'm 7 now. And thanks to you, Ronald Reagan. And therefore, and, you know, who in their 20s even thinks about being 67? And I always tell the story when somebody will call up and say something like that. I tell the story of my friend Michael Hutchison. Michael was a dear friend of mine, and this was 30 some odd years ago. And he was an author. He wrote a bunch of books on Mega Brain and on optimal function, intellectual function, stuff like that. And he was out running. He lived in Santa Fe. He was out running in the winter, and he was every morning he'd go for a run. He was running across a bridge over a small river in Santa Fe, and it was icy. And the bridge had a side rail, but it was only about 3 feet high. And he hit a patch of ice and fell over on the side rail and literally flipped, dropped 12 feet into the water and hit the river and broke his neck. And here he is in this freezing water. And thank God somebody else was running and they saw him, because he was paralyzed from the neck down for the rest of his life. And Social Security was what saved him. He had no savings. He had no job anymore. He couldn't write for a living anymore. I mean, eventually he figured out how to occasionally, do something with some voice dictation machines and stuff. And in fact, myself and a number of other people helped him out with that. We bought the computers for him and things. But, Michael would have just, it would have been, hey, just curl up and die. I mean, his parents were dead. He didn't have a close, direct family. And he lived on Social Security for the rest of his life. They paid for his housing. They paid for his medical care. That's what Social Security disability is. And he was not 65. He was in his 40s, as I recall, maybe even his late 30s. And, because of his condition, he only lived another 15 years or so. I used to go visit him regularly. But that's when it became real for me, that every single one of us has it's not even $1 million insurance policy. I mean, Michael, in 15 or 20 years or however long he was on this, probably consumed more than $1 million of Social Security money. You have basically an unlimited insurance policy against a car accident, against a physical accident. If somebody assaults you, beats you up, breaks your neck, injures you in a way that you can't work anymore, if you get a disease, you develop ALS or something like that. These diseases sometimes strike young people and they can't work. How do we communicate that better? I think the average 20-something, 30-something has no idea that Social Security is this mind-bogglingly great insurance program that they have, that they walk around with, that protects them every single day.
Yeah, it's to be cliche, it is a victim of its own success. It operates so smoothly and with such efficiency that people don't even realize they have it until they need it, which is how we want it to operate. But the thing is, there's this coordinated propaganda attack by Wall Street that actually poisons people's brains, because propaganda doesn't, just because you're smart doesn't mean that the propaganda is not working. You know them, I know them, a lot of people, you talk to them, these are people who understand policy, whatever. I don't care what room you're talking to. Ask some young people if they think Social Security is going to be there for you, and a lot of hands are going to go up at no. It's not going to be there for them. That they're just paying into the system with no expectation of return.
Well, this has been the pitch from the Republicans for as long as I've been alive. I mean, I've been hearing this since the 60s.
Yeah.
Social Security is not going to be. I remember William F. Buckley talking about this on Firing Line on Corporation for Public Broadcasting, public TV back in the 60s. My dad and I had an argument about it.
And go back even further. I mean, Alf Landon, who ran against FDR, lost every state but one, actually ran on the same thing, that it's not real. It's not going to be there for you. Social Security has never missed a single payment. I mean, it is the most secure thing that you probably have, that the vast majority of people in this country have in terms of an asset. Actuarially, it's around $2 million worth of insurance product that every working family who's paid in actuarially has around $2 million in life and disability insurance. And that inflation protected annuity at retirement is a non-marketable thing. I mean, no business could ever offer that. It's impossible. It can only be done with social insurance. But let's get to your question of young people need to understand that for young people is who we're talking about Social Security for. All the changes, all the attacks, it's for young people. The younger you are, the bigger the cuts to your benefits are being discussed right now. Generally, they actually carve out people who are currently on it, right? They say, oh, no. Not
Yeah.
because
We're not going to hurt Grandpa and Grandma.
Because Grandma and Grandpa vote every single time.
Right.
On Social Security. I call them always voters.
Well, this is what Reagan did in 82 or 83.
Yep,
when
exactly.
he cranked the retirement age up to from 65 to 67, but he said, oh, well, we'll wait, 30 years before that takes effect?
We'll bring it in, so younger people are hit harder. And that's why young people have to understand that Social Security that we're talking about is young people are going to be hurt the most if we don't stop these cuts now.
Insane. It's amazing. We're going to discuss Medicare right after the break. Stick around. This is fascinating stuff. It's the Thom Hartmann Program live from We Act Radio in Washington, D.C.
To the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
And the website, of course, is socialsecurityworks.org. Alex Lawson, Executive Director.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
We're reading from the Mueller report. This is page 81. It's about George Papadopoulos. In March 2016, Papadopoulos became a foreign policy advisor to the Trump campaign. As early as the summer of 2015, he had sought a